You mentioned the pathways, and I know you are a leader in our district there too. But can you touch on the benefit of students having those options and what that means for them to expose them to possibilities for college?
I mean, especially at the high school, there's different endorsements they can take, from business to, technology to, STEM classes. So those are just, in essence, almost like, hey, maybe I want to explore this. And the beauty that I think about Duncanville is it's not something that you have to be stuck in the whole time. If you're freshman and sophomore year, you start an endorsement, right, and you just don't feel it, then, hey, let's move on to something else. Because most people don't realize when you're in college, 3 out of 4 people change their major. So it's better to get that experience in those endorsements, right, at Duncanville High School, where you can come and kind of get a little taste of everything and realize, oh, I really thought I was going to be a computer science major, but I kind of fell in love with business.
Hi, my name is Dr. Mark Smith, and I'm superintendent of Duncanville ISD, and this is my podcast, Super Intentional. Hi, my name is Mark Smith, and I'm superintendent in Duncanville ISD, and this is my podcast, Super Intentional. I always believe everything rises or falls based on the leader. And so we love to talk about leadership on our podcast. Today, I have an awesome leader in Duncanville ISD, Mr. Cain. How are you? And welcome to the podcast.
I'm doing good. Thank you for having me out. It's a pleasure to be on your podcast today.
So you know the phrase, jack of all trades?
That's what I try to do, baby.
That's who you are. I mean, I tell you, it's like when someone asks, well, what does Mr. Cain do? Now, I was like, the question is, what does he not do? Because Mr. Cain does everything. I'm so excited to have you today and just to talk about leadership and the impact leadership has on our students, what you do to help us really build students that are doing amazing things in the district. So let's start there. I remember when I first came to Duncanville, and I had been familiar and heard about youth and government in previous districts, but not like Duncanville. And so I would hear this name, Mr. Cain, Mr. Cain, Mr. Cain. So I started just kind of educate myself and went to one of the first, competitions that I guess you call it competition.
Yeah,
you can
district conference.
And I was blown away. I was blown away by the work that you do. I was blown away by the kids and what they were doing. It was a great sense of pride, and they were doing really great work. Tell us and tell our audience, what does the youth and government mean to you, and how have you seen it make a difference with our students?
Well, that's really my baby. Like when I came here, it was really a unique story, as I was supposed to be a football, basketball, and track coach.
Wow.
And I got to Kennemer Middle School, and Brandy King's like, hey, like, I don't know what happened, but like, we ain't got those spots for you. Wow. I'm like, what are you talking about? She's like, you're coming from Houston. Someone else took those spots, but I got this thing called youth and government. I know your background's poli-sci. Would you like to try it out? And my thing's always been, you got to do something besides just teach to build that relationship with your kids.
Right.
So I said, you know what? Sure, let's do it. And then I went to the first training, and then you hear just like, oh, well, McKinney always wins. Plano always wins. And I'm a very competitive person. And I always tell the kids, we don't go to go, we go to win. So if we going, we winning. And I'm proud to say that going on year 10, we've never lost.
Wow.
We're literally, this is year 10 for me in youth and government. And that's my baby. That's the thing that I started first, and was like, hey, we want to win. Like, we want to go. And it's beautiful to see the kids and, find passion. One of our very first was Sharif Long.
Yes.
And I don't know if you follow him, but Sharif Long was our first youth governor from Duncanville, youth governor of Texas. And where did he get a job last month? Right? The Democratic Party. He's literally working in D.C. and following his passion.
Yes.
That's what this is about.
Yes.
It's like, if I can instill and seed in someone and see something in a kid that says, hey, this kid's something special.
Right.
So, to me, that's, hey, he might be our next senator.
Absolutely.
He might be our next governor. We don't know, but that all started his 7th grade year with youth and government.
Yes.
And we have a lot of good people that's gone through that program. Amaris Jobert, she started in that program, and now she's at Vanderbilt, right, in the prison systems, trying to reform that. but she's a product of that environment that Duncanville ISD was able to give to her in that program.
Yeah, we got to spend some time there. It's amazing because, you know, that's what we're about. We're about like making impact, you know, and what I appreciate about you, you know, you don't do something just to do it. You're there to make impact. That what you put your hands on is going to have an impact on those that are in the group and in the committee and that are involved in the work that you're doing. I reached out to Sharif probably about a month or so ago on LinkedIn, and he reached out. He responded, and he's doing some awesome things. You're right. I mean, there's no telling what he's going to be, senator or whatever he wants to be, but he's doing some great work. But that's the power of the Youth in Government program. Not enough people really know. You know, they hear youth in government, but they don't know what it's about. And the leaders, you know, we talk about leadership on the podcast. Well, you're producing leaders that not only are going to impact Duncanville while they're here, but they're going to impact the world. What does that feel like? Where does that passion come from? And what kind of impact are you seeing this having on a kid's life that you teach?
My thing has always been, it's like, hey, you have to give back. You know, it's like, you know, I didn't even start teaching till I was 30. You know, I had a job in corporate, and it really was, you know, one of those things that, you know, at the end of the day, how do I feel, right? What am I doing to give back? You know, and the thing that I know now that's great, we have these little alumni events, and alumni come back and, you know, we talked about it before, Rafael Caballas, right? Hey, when he was in Duncanville, he was in Youth in Government, and he won best lawyer in the country. Well, now he has an internship at JP Morgan Chase. He's at UPenn. He's at Wharton. So that's one of those things that it's like, I want everyone to believe. I want people, when they look at Duncanville, it's not just about the basketball program or fine arts. Right? We can win academic championships, right? We have kids that can get into great schools and, you know, can lead in youth in government and be our first, you know, senator. You know, that's beautiful. That's what we want. We want to be able to say, you know, we have a well-rounded, you know, program here at Duncanville High School, not just, you know, youth in government, but, you know, our HOSA, our DECA, you know, all our other academic competition organizations.
What kind of experience or experiences are our students engaged in as they go through a school year in youth in government? I think a lot of people don't really understand what happens in the background, the work that you do to get them in a position to really stand before an audience and command presence and have very specific knowledge on various aspects of the government and what area they're focused on.
And that's the cool part, is we actually use Robert Rules of Order. So I remember when our kids had the opportunity to go to Duncanville City Council, and they actually had questions on Robert Rules of Order, and our kids stepped in and said, "Want me to show you how to do that, Mayor?" Right? So that's very important. And we actually use the same template, right, that the legislation in Austin uses. So the kids in legislative actually have to learn to write a bill. So like going back to Sharif, his job right now for the DNC is actually bill writing. So that skill that he learned in 7th grade and continued with, he's using in real life. So the kids have to learn how to write bills, right? There's a mock trial piece to that. So like we have some kids that are future lawyers, and they get a court case and they have to remember and know, hey, what's the different parts of law, when to call, you know, out of order, things like that. You know, there's a media piece to it, kind of like this. Like, hey, you know, media is a big piece in politics now. So what does that look like? How can we make sure, right, that both sides are getting covered? And then the last piece, it is a state affair piece where that's like business proposals. So that's one thing that I always tell parents, hey, if it's the little shy kid, we got a spot for them. Right. I always like to tell kids in the hallway when we're trying to recruit, you know, in youth and government, you belong here. It doesn't matter what your personality is. We can see whatever your gift is, because one thing in education, I think a lot of times we try to put kids in boxes, right? Oh, it needs to fit this box. Well, while reality, we need to look at that kid and build a box around them. Okay, you're good at this, right? Let's try to build that strength instead of trying to fit you to do something else. Right. And that's one of the things that we do in youth and government and the other organizations that I help run.
Boy, there's a lot of power in what you said. I was reflecting as you were sharing. You know, I wish I had a Mr. Cain when I was in the 8th or 9th grade, because oftentimes, you know, the student at that age, they don't know what they're good in, and they need some encouragement and some direction, someone to kind of guide them into a pathway, which is what you do, to turn that light bulb on. And you do that, and because of that, you're having that impact. a lot of people don't also realize what you do to shine a light on college opportunities for our students. You go all over the country.
It's my baby. It's my passion.
Taking students on college tours and college campuses. I got to know about that. Tell me about that.
Man, I was telling Ms. Thomas, we just put one in today. We're going to start our college tours back up this summer. And my thing is, it's always been about exposure and experiences, right? I always used to say, if you ask a kid at Duncanville High School, hey, what's your favorite kind of steak? They're going to tell you chicken fried steak, right? Because they don't know any better. They never had no Wagyu beef. They ain't never had no porterhouse, right? They ain't had no dried aged ribeye, right? All they've had. It's the same thing with college. All they hear about is UT, A&M, right? Well, they don't know that to let them go experience. Let me take that kid on, right, that Harvard campus and see what it looks like. Let me take that kid on that UPenn campus and see what it looks like. Then they realize, when we did it, 4 years ago, right before COVID, I took Sharif to different places. I took another group. We did it like 3 years in a row, and half the kids end up going to a school that we went and visited. They realized that they saw themselves at that campus, and you don't understand how important that is. Right? A kid can only dream so big, right, because they've never seen it. They've never touched it. They never felt it. Right. The thing that we like to do is, hey, take them, build that relationship with that university. And one thing that we do in our Pathways to College class, hey, if we won't take you, we're going to bring it to you. So this year we had over 100 campuses, right, come in and talk to the kids and say, hey, we're trying to recruit you. Right. It's just like if you're a 4 or 5 star athlete, we have great kids at Duncanville High School that colleges don't know about. So how are we going to do that? Hey, we're going to bring them in. Hey, come see these great kids I got. Right? They can do it. They're going to shine just not here, but they're going to shine at your campus as well. They really are great leaders. They all really can shine anywhere. And like I said, that's my passion. My passion really is just saying, I want you to believe in yourself. That's right. Right? You can't think small or dream small. I want you to dream big. If you want to go to Harvard, right? I tell parents all the time, you come to me, like you said, 8th and 9th grade, and your kid has some grit and desire, right? And you want a plan, I can get you there. Right, that's literally my passion. We've built a good team around us of other teachers where, hey, we know what we need to do. And at this point, we have the connections. I know who your admissions counselor is at MIT or Harvard. We bring them in. So because of that, right, your kids got a good shot. Absolutely. Right, all they have to do is their part, right, and keep up with their grades, right, and just the misconceptions. It's no longer about SAT scores and things like that. A lot of universities, SATs aren't even mandatory anymore. So what is it about? It's about being able to write a good essay. It's about being in extracurriculars like youth and government or DECA or HOSA, things like that. Parents don't realize that. Parents realize when we were at the college, it was all about your class rank and your SAT. Right. That was it. It ain't about that anymore. Right. So it's not just educating the students, right, but it's really educating the parents like, hey, this is the direction, right, that college is going in and what college is looking like. Right. And then just telling the kids and helping them every day, hey, no, this is what you need to do. It's really building a plan, building a process. Right. Here's the foundation. This is what you need to do. Right. Even from, 8th and 9th grade, I just adopted 3 kids. Right. And my kids are literally in 6th and 7th grade. Wow. And they were filling out their course sheet. I was like, no, you need to take this class and this class because then you get, high school credit your 8th grade year. That means in, high school, when you're at Duncanville High School, you can actually take, more college course. More AP courses. Yes. So like it really does start right in middle school. And that's one thing that I like about Duncanville is we do have all these choice programs and the different options that the kids can take. We're trying to build them, right, and build that success. You are a true, impact player. There's this term in leadership, impact player, and it describes a type of leader that makes things happen for others. And I can tell your energy, your passion, it exudes. And our students are the beneficiaries of your ability to be an impact player and to take something that may be a little rough around the edges when you first get it, but at the end, it's going to be refined, ready to go and conquer. And so we appreciate that, and kids really benefit from that in Duncanville. You mentioned the pathways, and I know you are a leader in our district there too, but can you touch on the benefit of students having those options and what that means for them to expose them to possibilities for college? I mean, especially at the high school, there's different endorsements they can take from business to, technology to, STEM classes. So those are just in essence, almost like, hey, maybe I want to explore this. And the beauty that I think about Duncanville is it's not something that you have to be stuck in the whole time. If you're freshman and sophomore year, you start an endorsement, right, and you just don't feel it, then, hey, let's move on to something else. Because most people don't realize when you're in college, 3 out of 4 people change their major. So it's better to get that experience in those endorsements, right, at Duncanville High School, where you can come and kind of get a little taste of everything and realize, oh, I really thought I was going to be a computer science major, but I kind of fell in love with business.
Right.
Or maybe I wanted to be a lawyer, but now I kind of fell in love with health science, right? That's the beauty of having those endorsements and those pathways. And then you get to me senior year and you take our pathways to college class. Hey, now you had all those endorsements. You kind of honed in on what you want to do. And now I can match the college, right, with whatever your future plans are, right? And now we're not just applying to random schools. We're applying to the schools, right, that best fit where you want to be.
Man, think about that. Students need both knowledge and information. You can have the knowledge of like what to do, but if you don't have the specific information that you just lined out, you're going to fall short. And so with what you bring to the table, helping our parents, and our parents sometimes, they can be intimidated by that process because they're not involved in that. It's a lot of paperwork. There's so many steps. And so you're a bridge to really help in that area to break down any barriers that exist so that they can just focus on the prize and what's coming down the line. So there's power in that. And as a leader, what I pick up on is, you cast the vision and then you do the work to help people fall in line. Because here's the thing I learned. If you're the band director and you're leading the band and you look back and nobody's following you, you don't have a very good band. Well, when I look at your track record and I look back, you got a lot of people following you and the results are there. And our district and our students, our parents, we all benefit from it and just really proud of the work you're doing.
I mean, that's really one of the things that if you came in here and say, hey, what's the key to leadership? I would say know your strengths, know your weaknesses, right? And then build your team around you, right, that fit those.
Yes.
Right? I have great people like Miss Lee that's been with me for the last decade doing this, right? Miss Lamone, Mr. Harrell, all these people, Mr. Howard that's built around us that all have the kind of vision. It's kind of like, and it really comes down from Mr. McDonald and winning academic championships. Hey, this is our goal, man. It's not just, about what we can do on the field or, in the band hall, but what can we do? I want to know when people think of Duncanville High School, man, did you hear they had all them kids get into them Ivy League schools or them top 100 schools? That's what I want.
Absolutely.
I don't want it just the first thing they think of is, oh, they want state again.
Right.
No, but do you hear how many kids they got in Harvard?
Absolutely.
Right? Do you hear how many kids they got in the Ivy League? That's what I want.
Absolutely.
In essence, we all got a part to play. I always like to tease Coach Stamples and Coach Peavy all the time. I'm like, hey, y'all doing y'all, but we doing mine too.
Absolutely.
Right? I was like, hey, how many D1 players you got? I can match that when I say how many kids I got in top 20 schools.
That's right.
We always kind of go back and forth, and it actually ties together. This is the beauty. This just happened yesterday. Lincoln Riley came in. He was trying to recruit one of our football players, but that football player is also in my AP US class, and I've been working with him. I'm like, it's not just about a football decision, right? You tell me that you want to be, right, a business leader and you want to own real estate. Well, let's look at what schools, right, match that, right? And USC was one of the top academic schools. So when he was in that meeting with Coach Riley, he's like, well, Coach Riley, I know you're a top 20 business school. I know you're a top 3 real estate school.
Right.
And Coach Riley's like, hey, I'm really impressed. Now, I'm just not impressed with your football skills. Right. But I'm really impressed that you know this. Like, you actually care about your academics. And the kid was like, yeah, that matters to me. Absolutely. Right. And I know, where you are ranked academically. And that's what we have to do. Wow. I tell football players and basketball players and volleyball players, hey, bring me your offers. Let me rank them for you academically. Right. Right. And then let's make the best decision overall. Wow. Right. Because at the end of the day, yeah, you can go wherever. We already know that. Absolutely. Right. But if you get there and you want to be, a real estate major and they don't have real estate, why'd you pick that school? Absolutely. Right? There's a lot of great football schools out there, but there's really not that many good places that have real estate. So we have to look at that and actually make an informed decision.
Wow.
So that's one of those things that like that's what I've been trying to do on that end. It's like, hey, let's do this for everyone. This
awesome.
can't just be these 2 or 3 kids or just the top 1% kids or the top 10%. It really is. My belief always. I'm trying to build everyone up. If I can get the kid that just went to UT to now think about going to an Ivy League, and the kid that maybe went to UTA to think about going to UT, and maybe the kid that didn't want to go to college at all, maybe now. Right, they're doing the Dallas County Promise and, going to Mountain View or somewhere like that. So we're just trying to move everyone up a level. And that's what we're really about is saying, hey, everybody can do it.
See, that's that college going culture, in full operation mode. It's been amazing to me to see over the last several years where our students are going to school, the opportunities that they have. And, it just started with the vision of creating a college-going culture in the district, doing the kind of things that we needed to do so that you could have the platform to operate in your gift and talents, and our students are the beneficiary of it, and that is an awesome feeling. When I think about all the possibilities, like what do you see next? What's next on the horizon for you when you look at the program, and maybe not just youth and government, but it could be youth and government, and the other pathways. What's next on the
I think my big thing is I've realized by doing this a decade now and being the last 5 at the high school, it really does start younger. Right. Mm-hmm. So it's like I've been talking to people and trying to put things in place. When you go to college, especially a top tier college, they always have something called a seminar class where like you take it your first semester, your freshman year, and they kind of tell you, hey, here's some study skills. Here's some things that you need to know, right, to get ready for this.
Right.
And in my vision in my head of what we need to do is like, hey, we need to have something like that. We need to have where they can come in their freshman year, take some kind of seminar class that kind of gets them, hey, this is what high school is going to look like. Because the biggest thing that I hear, if I had a nickel for every time I heard it, right, oh, Mr. Cain, if I would have just known this my freshman year. Right. Well, at this point, we're kind of being, right, I'm one of those people, like you said, I want to be proactive, not reactive. Absolutely. And I feel like when I get them their senior year, hopefully, they have and they've done what they needed to do to get, and I can help them get there. But it would be so much more efficient and so much more proactive if I could talk to them 8th grade year, 9th grade year, have something in place where they know, because the reality is they don't know. Right. Kids come in their freshman year, and a lot of times we assume, right, that kids know what I just need to know. Like this is literally, it's a hustle. Right. There's things that you have to put in place and things that you have to do, right, if you want that prize. Right. So let's do that. Let's try to figure out a way where we can get kids that information earlier. Right. That way, instead of just dealing with 200 or 300 kids, well, now I can deal. The senior class is 1,000. Yes. Right. My goal is, hey, if that senior class is 1,000, right, 700, 800, I want going to college. Right. I understand college isn't for everybody. Right. But if you do what you need to do to understand, right, then you can be in some kind of program. Even if it's a 2-year college or a 4-year college or a vocational college, you can have a plan in place. And I don't think a lot of times kids don't start planning that plan to their senior year. Yes. So my long-term goal and why, I'm trying to stay with you about it, whoever is like, hey, let's figure out a plan to get that information to the kids earlier. That way they're putting, the plan in place to succeed, right, their freshman year, not trying to figure out their junior year. Oh my God, this is what I got to do. Oh my gosh, I just found out my rank, and now like, oh, how do I get that up? Like, no, like, hey, that should have been something you worried about, your freshman year. But no one told you. Right. It's like those perish because of lack of knowledge. Right. If you don't have the knowledge, you can't succeed. So let's give them that knowledge, right, and then let's see where it goes. I want to be a premier high school. That's how you become a premier high school. I want to be able, there's no reason why we can't do what Townview don't do, right? Or what Tobisky don't do. We can do that in South Dallas. We have the kids, right? It's just sometimes they don't have that knowledge early enough, right? Let's give them that knowledge early enough, right? That way they can succeed.
Wow. Yeah. Well, I tell you what, I bet Miss Pam Thomas, who's our director of innovation, I bet she's listening or will be listening, and she'll be following up with you on what we can do to start earlier. And I do get it. I the earlier you have that exposure, just like anything. You think about someone who's playing golf. The earlier you have exposure to playing golf, the better you're going to be moving forward. And that applies to anything that you do. So I definitely see the benefit of having those kind of programs infused in our lower grade levels so that they're ready. They've got the knowledge and the information. Yeah. You got to have both, knowledge and information. So now when they reach you, you know, you can do some great things with them. So,
and the beauty is, I think you've set that up as superintendent, that they have that knowledge.
Yeah.
Right. They have, like I said, we have great programs here. I brag all the time about, you know, the different campuses we have at Byrd and Kennemer, you know, and I was talking to Mr. Lanier because I have a daughter that's in second grade. He's like, oh, yeah, we got an early college campus, elementary school.
Absolutely.
I'm like, elementary school, that's what I need there. I need someone, we're in, you know, second, third grade, you know, preaching about college already. You know, let's do that. Let's, you know, try to tell them, you know, early and give them the information. And like I said, give them that exposure and those experiences, because that's what, to me, it really comes down to. You know, let's take them on college tours. You know, that's one thing with the college tour that I set up for this year. I opened it up to sophomores, right? But hey, let's have some kind of college tour for 8th and 9th graders. You know, let's start exposing them early and giving them those experiences, because a lot of times they don't have the resources to do that themselves. Not every parent can take 2 weeks off in the summer, right, and take them on a college tour. You know, so if they can't do that, we need to do that. Right, as a district. That way we can help them out and give them that experience, and they can kind of get a taste for it, and then they have, okay, I can do it. You know, because how do football teams and band and all of that, they see, right, that legacy. They see those state championships. But if we can do that same thing academically, and that's the thing that I love now, is I bring back those alum. You know, we just had 3 or 4 alum come back this year, and they're all about to graduate. We have Gloria. She just took a job, director of marketing for Goldman Sachs on Wall Street.
Wow.
Right? Come on, man. That's a Duncanville graduate.
Absolutely.
You know, like I told you, Rafael Cabalas, JP Morgan Chase, Jariah Cole, working for the biggest accounting firm in Boston. Our kids can do it.
Absolutely.
Right? We have great kids here. Let's bring them back. Right. And we're not talking, hey, 25 years ago, we used to do this. No, I'm talking about within the last 5 years, we've had kids do unbelievable things. Let's come back and share those stories. Right. And let's start motivating some of these kids. Oh, okay. They're in law. You know, I had Amber Sadiq. Oh, yeah. Well, I just want to let you know that, you know, I just got accepted to med school. I'm going to UT Southwestern. Wow. There it is. You know what I'm saying? That's someone that graduated 4 years ago.
Yeah.
You know,
I remember Amber.
Amber. Yeah. So it's like
she graduated with Sharif, didn't she? Amber Siddiqui?
Okay. A year after.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, Sharif's in DC now doing his thing. Amber is going to med school. You know, so like you have all these kids, and it's not just 1 or 2 kids.
Yeah.
It's 40, 50, 60, 70 kids that are, you know, at the top of their game. You know, and making Duncanville proud. And they're Duncanville alumni, you know, they're coming back, you know, and then you can just see, like I always have it. They come back and they have that meeting and they, you know, sit in that little panel, or what can I do to succeed? And a lot of them were in my youth and government program or Panthers Impact or one of my organizations. It's like, man, you got to get in these orgs that and get around, you know, like-minded people. That's one thing as a leader, right? You have to get around like-minded people that believe the way you believe.
Absolutely.
Right? You can, if every one day, it's a lot of things I always say, out of your mouth comes your victory or your defeat. So choose wisely, right? You have to hang around people and be with people, right, that is looking out for your victory. If you're not looking out for your victory, right, who you looking to the right or left?
Absolutely.
Hey, you got to find people that like-minded like you that say, hey, you know what? Hey, I want to go to a great college too.
Absolutely.
You know,
are there other programs that you see that maybe you are touching that would be worth noting that our kids are participating in?
That's one thing as a parent that you need to understand is there's a group of organizations called academic competition, right? That's really what colleges are looking for. I always tell the kids, every state but Alaska, right, school is mandatory 7 to 3, right? Colleges want to know, what do you do 3 to 7, right? What are you doing after school, right, to prove, right, you're academically challenging yourself, right? So join HOSA, right? That's our health science club. Join youth and government. That's our law, right? Community service, things like that. Join DECA. I'm a part of DECA. You mean, we literally had our competition yesterday. 43 kids win. 32 out of the 43 won. Wow. Right? That's unbelievable. That's right? Awesome. That's a great organization that if you want to be in business, right, DECA is the way to go. So like the thing that colleges want is colleges want, okay, what do you want to be? right? You want to be, a doctor, then you need to be in HOSA. You want to be a lawyer, you need to be in YAG, right? Kids need to quit worrying about being at 4 or 5 different things and be a leader in the one that they plan on going to. Right. I think a lot of times so many kids want to what I call be, a club jumper.
Right.
Right. 4 or 5 different clubs, but you're not a leader in any of them. Right. Colleges want to know that, hey, you're doing this one, you're going to state in it, you're competing in it, right? And you're a leader in that organization. That's what matters. It's not about being in 4 or 5 different things. It's about doing 1 or 2 things great. Right. And literally separating yourself from everyone else. That's what you can do.
That is powerful. That's changing lives. And that's what we do as educators. That's what we want to do. We're here to change lives and to give students an opportunity to go and just shatter any ceilings that are out there. And it's happening. Another thing I picked up, we probably need to tell our story better and brag on our alumni more that are going out and doing great things. And that's something that I picked up doing the podcast. There's so many stories, wonderful stories of our educators making a difference in students' lives. And there are opportunities for us that we will be capitalizing on in just telling our story. The big annual Youth in Government conference or competition. When is that? I know we hosted it. Was that last year that we hosted or a year before?
So we've hosted district 4 years in a row. We didn't host it this year.
Okay.
It was in Garland this year, but for 4 years, it's always in November. But then the beauty is the kids that move to the next level, so the kids that go to state. So I think this year we had, 72 kids participate in district conference. And out of that 72, we had 62, right, move to the state conference. Okay. So in essence, just like how football or basketball go to state, they go to state. And the cool part in youth and government, they actually go to Austin too, right? And they actually present their bill, their legislation, or their court case, right, on the House and Senate floor. I thought it was cool yesterday. They sent it out. They actually make a resolution. So because not every organization can use the House and Senate floor. So the actual Congress, Texas Congress, had a vote on the resolution, right, to let us use it. Right. So this year is the first weekend in March, right, that the kids are going. They'll be there Thursday, Friday, Saturday. And, we got a couple kids up for election. Like I said, we got about 62 kids going. Wow. So it's one of those things that every year the program is consistently sending, 60 to 70 kids, to state. And that's my thing. I was talking to the guy with HOSA, and the crazy part, they're starting to come back. The guy that runs HOSA now, me and Miss Lee actually taught at Kennemer when we were there, 5 years ago. Right. So now he's teaching. He's like, oh yeah. He's like, can I help with, I see how many people you can recruit. And I kind of helped that with DECA. Right. Last year, DECA, we had like 12 kids, right, go to district. Yesterday, we had 43, right? Wow. So it's like, hey, let's to me, like I said, it's giving back. If I can help you grow, let's figure it out. Because the reality is a lot of it it's the same kids. The kids that's great at HOSA can be good in something else. Right. And looking at those great kids and seeing potential, like I said, putting a box around them. What are you good at? What do you want to do? And let me figure out what program you need to be in. That's one thing I'm always in McDonald's here. Hey, we need to have a program, right, fair. We need to have it like during 8th block one day, just have all the organizations come out and then just like, hey, let's try to, recruit kids because you really don't know what you want to be. Right. And we can do it at open house, but a lot of times at open house, not everyone comes. And by then it's too late. I'm already in season. Right. It's kind of like trying to join the basketball team halfway through the year. Nah, man, let's try to promote our, academic organizations, right? And our other organizations in school. We have a lot of them. We probably have over 50 organizations in the school that people can find their place, right? And find their calling and find their passion. Because I think a lot of times you have so many kids that just don't have direction. Right. They don't know where to go, right? And one thing that I've learned is there's great teachers out there. Mr. Williams is great with Stuco, so it's like, man, we see that vision together and we pour into each other, right? hey, you're pouring into these kids. And we have these different organizations where teachers can pour into those kids, right? Put those seeds, right? And like you said, make dreams come true, right? So it's like, well, let's do that. Let's have that. Let's have, you know, these organizations, like you said, spotlight them and try to, you know, get kids to join them and have something they can do, you know, instead of just going home and making TikToks.
You remind me of this quote from Bill Parcells. He's a head football coach in the NFL, former head football coach. And he had this quote that he always says. He said, "You are what your record says you are." When I think about you as a leader, you are what your record says you are. And you just look at the record. You look at the record of students that are now doing great things all across the country that came through your program. You look at your record as it relates to students who have gone through college and now are in key leadership roles in major companies and corporations all throughout. And like you said, not 25 years ago, we're talking the last 5 to 7 years. So that's what a leader is. A leader is an impact player. And the thing that comes to mind when I think about you and your leadership and what we talked about today is a leader being an impact player. And by impact, you're making a difference. You're putting students in a position to maximize their potential and to be in a place and a space where any and everything that they want to achieve, they can do it. And there's power in that because not everyone has the same intense focus that you bring to the work. And so you are what your record says you are, and we appreciate that. Is there anything else, any nugget, any leadership nugget in our remaining moments that you would want to share with the audience?
Man, I think the biggest leadership, or at least especially to other teachers, first of all, I'm going to be real. It all comes from the top down, right? Like, you are an unbelievable leader, Mr. McDonald, Dr. Nix. You know, we see what y'all are doing and we go from there, and y'all give us the space, right, to do what we do. You know, Mr. McDonald always says, hey, if it's best for kids, I'm never going to tell you no, right? And I think that's why, as educators, that big leadership piece is, hey, find a way, right, to pour into a kid that's just not 7 to 3.
That's right.
Right? We're all teachers. We're supposed to do that. To me, I always say that's your job, right? Your job is to come in and motivate kids and teach kids, right? But what can you do 3 to 7 to take it to the next level, right? That's what real leaders do, real teachers do, right? Keep in touch with, you know, your students. One thing that I believe in is, like, I'm not just your teacher this year, right? I'm your teacher the rest of your life. Right, I still have kids. I have my phone. I can show you. I have 3 or 4 group me accounts, right, that are alumni that I can turn to come and talk to kids, or they come and talk to me. Oh, Mr. Cain, should I do this or should I do that? The thing is, we need more people like that. Right. We need more people, right, that are willing to invest in kids, not just, you know, K through 12, right, but 12 to wherever they need you. Let's put ourselves in a position, right, to speak into kids and make sure that, hey, you know what? If it's their junior year and they're trying to decide, should I go to law school, med school? You know, I remember sitting down with Sharif and saying, hey, I really wanted to be a doctor, but I really got this calling, right? And knowing and saying, you know what? Go for it. Right. You know, you can go to DC. And I remember him saying, hey, it was a paid internship, but they paid me $1,200 a month. Right. And I had to do Segway tours, right, just to eat. Yes. But now look where you're at. Absolutely. Right. But and it was great because yesterday he emailed or texted me, Miss Smith and Miss Lee, and was like, hey, I just want to thank y'all. Right. Thank you for the support for the last decade. You know, and that's what it's about. Yes. We need teachers that are thinking a decade out. Wow. Right? Not just what we can do to get them to college, but what we can do them to get into the workforce, right? And because that, right, will just literally, they'll see that as motivation. Other kids, and you don't understand, when you do that, other kids see that, right? And it builds that motivation for years to come. And that's how you build a district. That's how you build, you know, like Parcells, I'm all about building programs. Absolutely. Right? That's how you build a program. Right, you build a program by building a great foundation, right, and then letting kids come back and give, letting kids come back and talk to the kids, giving other kids, you know, someone to look up to and say, hey, you can do it. Look,
Yeah.
so-and-so did it.
Yeah.
You know, but we need more of that.
Absolutely.
We need more teachers that are willing to invest some time, you know, outside of just the school hours, right, to really make a difference in a kid's life.
Right. The power of an educator. Wow. Impact player, someone who can align resources so that kids can maximize their potential. That's what you are about. That's what any effective leader is about. Those are my takeaways, along with many, many other takeaways that you stressed today, to help me look introspectively in my own leadership and just make sure that we're continuing to create opportunities for students so that educators like yourself can do what you do. And that's what my commitment is, and that's where my motivation is. Thank you for being here today. I appreciate all that you do for us, and I'm looking forward to the future. What an awesome podcast today. So many insights on leadership and the impact that a leader can have on the lives of our students. And so you heard from Mr. Cain today so many great things that are going on. We always say everything rises or falls with the leader. Our students are rising because we have leaders like Mr. Cain and others in Duncanville ISD that are doing, keyword 3 to 7, doing things after the traditional hours to set kids up for success. And that's what it takes. So this is my podcast. Thank you for joining us today. Everything rises and falls based on the leader.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of Super Intentional with Dr. Mark Smith. Go ahead, like, comment, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. If you're listening on audio platforms, be sure to subscribe and rate the episodes. Follow us on all social media platforms.